I've been hitting nostalgia heavy this week in our recent games, Nick. I've been hitting an old arcade classic. So when I was about 12 years old, the kind of arcade games that were coming out in 1987 were Double Dragon. Yes, I played through Double Dragon, and I might talk about that another week. But this week I'm going to talk about another 1987 arcade game called Bad Dudes. Now, apparently it was called Bad Dudes in the UK, but when I can remember distinctly when I played it, it was Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, which apparently is the US or the Japanese name of the game. But when you load the game up, fortunately, it's got Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja across the screen. This is a Data East game rather than the kind of
was that
Double Dragon.
Was that Konami or was that Capcom Data East? It was the second. It was because the restrictions, wasn't there?
Subsidiary restrictions on how many games they could release. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a Data East one, and Johnny Turbo have got this as an emulator rather than the arcade archives. They tend to release them at slightly elevated price points, and their emulation, I've heard other people saying, they don't offer so many options as the arcade archives, which is true. But while I played through this old arcade game, the emulation is fantastic. There's no slowdown, there's nothing. And when you're playing a game as a kid, you don't really notice the slowdown, you know? No. I played, like I said, I played Double Dragon through in the arcade, and people have complained about that incessantly. There's so much lag, so much slowdown when you get about 2 enemies on screen that it's virtually unplayable. And then I go back and play the arcade archives version of Double Dragon, and that's true. It slows down so much. Here, in Bad Dudes, it can throw... There's one boss in particular who's this green ninja, and he multiplies himself. He's got many, many copies, and there's like 12 of him on the screen, and there's nothing, no slowdown or anything. Excellent. I don't know if that's because they've done a really bang-up job of emulation and they've overlooked it. Maybe it would have slowed down in the arcade. It most certainly doesn't in this Switch version. So what modes you do have before you start the game is you have 7 screen filters. You can basically flatten it, and then you can choose your aspect ratio to 4:3, which is the usual kind of mode, or stretch it to 69. Doesn't look too bad stretched, actually, and as a full screen experience, it looks quite nice. Sprites are very chunky on there, but the kind of 7 screen filters, you got that flat screen, then you've got like a composite one with heavy colors, an RGB one. They're really throwing these scan lines at you. You've even got a VHS mode, wow, which, if you remember those composite cables that you would have had with the VHS, it completely washes the colors out and adds this blurry filter over the whole thing, but it's quite... it looks the part, you know. It looks like, it really does look like an old VHS. I settled with the RGB one, the RGB cables, which rounded it so you looked like you were looking at the old arcade screen, and the colours weren't flush like the composite. The colours were really garish, so it toned the colours down slightly, and it's got the scan lines and all that. Really made it feel like an old school experience. And looked good as well. Full screen as well, 16:9. And that's it. That's all the options you got. You can just choose those screen filters and the aspect ratio, and there's nothing else you can do. So yes, it is lacking in caravan modes and all the other kind of high score modes that the arcade archives versions have. However, very, very happy with the emulation. This is an old school 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. But it's not in the kind of vein of Streets of Rage and Final Fight where you can drop in and out of the background. There's no kind of slight isometricality to it, but there's a lot of dual platforms. So you're either at the top or at the bottom. Plus, it's 2-player local, which it was in the arcade, so this is perfect for me and my son. And it does what all kind of modern arcade games do. You can rack up the coins, your credits, by pressing the R button on the controller, so you can fill your credits up to 9 and then press L to start. And every time you die, you can just put another credit in if you need it. So you can just blast through the game. And I like to do that. You know, yes, we could be challenging ourselves, but I wanted to Rescue, and this is the story, I wanted to rescue the kidnapped president, sorry, not princess, the kidnapped President Ronnie. 1987. Who was the president in 1987?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, so it was President Ronnie.
Oh, was it Bush?
But Ronnie,
no, I think it was Reagan, yeah.
He's Ronnie, President Ronnie. He is built like, Sylvester Stallone. He looks like he's packing a 6-pack under his suit there. He looks like he could take the bad guys out himself. But as you're playing through the game, very nostalgic for me. I haven't played it since those 1987 coin ops, but playing through it, I just remember everything. Oh, there's a pitfall there. Oh, this boss is coming up. Oh, we're on top of the truck. So there's a good variety in the levels. Not so much in the enemies. The enemies tend to be ninja based: blue ninja, red ninja, girl ninja. There's a ninja dog. They throw down caltrops to block your way, but you just perfectly remember that you can duck and kick the caltrop so you get rid of it, so you don't get spiked and lose some energy. Your energy bar is about, I can't remember, about 8 bars, and in every hit you take, you drop down a bar. Some of the bosses, one hit will kill you. But the bosses are quite, there's a variety of bosses anyway. You got bosses with nunchucks, you got bosses with claws that all ninjas have, a little short guy with claws, does spinning attacks. You got this huge ogre that will drop kick you and kill you in one hit. And the final boss who's hanging off of a helicopter. And I'm, like I said before, so impressed that it throws so many enemies at you. And you can play through this game in 35 minutes, from beginning to end. There's, I can't remember how many stages there are now, 5 or 6 stages in it. And the classic kind of ninja tropes, you go through a jungle, you go on top of a train, on top of a truck, you go into a cave, you go through a forest, you end up in the bad guy's fortress, and that's your lot, Take down the boss, you go and have a hamburger with President Ronnie. Game over. I had more fun than I should have, because I don't know if you've heard the NWR podcast, people talking about this and saying, oh, what a bad game it is. I think it's not bad. It's far better than Double Dragon, and that's for sure. Okay.
Is it anybody got online play, by the way?
No, it doesn't. No, it's just 2-player local. Yeah. Okay. It's a shame. I did have fun with this. One to look out for if you're as nostalgic and as old as me. Far better than Ninja Gaiden, that's for sure. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.